Thank you, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Emilia, still a compulsive reader in recovery from Italy. I've prepared a long speech because so I won't get lost. And I'm 59 years old, and it'll be hard to summarize all the disaster, of course, with food, but I'll try. I was born into a dysfunctional family. My father was a compulsive eater, while my mother is still alive and is codependent. When my sister was born, I took a back seat. I was an overprotected daughter, pushed aside by a more vibrant child. I don't remember when I started eating compulsively, but I certainly remember my parents fighting and yelling. It was not easy to live in such a tense situation. My parents wanted me to be the perfect daughter, perfect in weight, in beauty, teachable, intelligent, perfect in manners and studies. I felt the weight of their expectation from the beginning, and I never felt that I could fulfill them. And I felt also that I was not loved for who I was, who I am. I was about 6 years old, and I remember that I could not do a homework given by the school teacher. And I used the razor to correct what I had written, only just a small square in that page, okay? But I only made holes in the page, and when my mother found out, she beaten me. She beaten me. I have many memories like that, but I also remember that my mother worked very hard to make me thin. And I did get thin. Even the pediatrician told her that I was eating too much and that I was a fat. I was a child and I was considered just a fat child, not just a girl. I think that at one point they gave me weight loss pills, some kind of amphetamine, and I had not yet reached puberty. Around the age of 12, I came home from school with teachers' notes in my diary where they wrote that instead of paying attention in the classroom, I spent my time munching. I used to steal from my mother's purse, from my grandfather's help, from my grandmother's purse, just to buy treats. And if I didn't find the money, I would steal those treats or other food from the store. That was one of my step 9. My parents, especially my mother, raised me in being ashamed of my body, not loving and respecting it. The only thing that cared about was that I was perfect in appearance, and if it wasn't how they wanted me, I had to hide. I had to hide myself. I didn't even have an education in sexuality. I didn't know anything about anything. I learned everything there was to know about womanhood and sexuality just by talking to my friends, to my peers. I felt I felt like just a real klutz. The fact is that when I lost my virginity, I didn't even realize it. It was until the next day that I realized what it had happened. I was 17 years old and I felt dirty, guilty, and imperfect. And I kept eating. My mom used to hide all kind of treats. She would put everything away, but I would always find it. Even my father's meal or some other food. I had become a bloodhound. And when I found the treasure, I would eat everything compulsively. At the age of 19, my father decided to lose some weight and took me to the WW program for weight loss. While it was a total failure for my father, I finally lost weight, many kilos, maybe to prove that I could do that. And that finally lost the weight, my parents would no longer include me in their strategies for a perfect daughter. But nothing at all, they kept controlling me and my existence. After that lost virginity experience, 2 years that year, I had no other approach or relationship with the opposite sex, since I was hardly ever approached or boys because I was a fat girl. I was a fat girl. And finally, because I was thin, I started to have male admirers. By the way, that was the year that someone tried to rape me. There was sexual abuse, but not complete. I didn't talk with anyone. I talked to my psychotherapist, but years later. While at university, I continued to feel the expectation of my parents, who were always looking for what they wanted. Even when I decided what they wanted to study, I did not feel free to choose. To be clear, my parents weren't mean people. They loved me very much. They gave me a lot of opportunities the others didn't have. But they had very high expectation and I always fought for what I wanted. But as I got older, I was tired of their expectation and my inner determination became stronger. I began to rebel. But on the other hand, I didn't accept myself. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I ate treats all the time and I got fat. Emotionally, I wasn't able to have a stable, lasting relationships with the opposite sex. I had good girl relationships interrupted by casual sex relationships. My body weight ranged from very thin to very fat. From very thin to very fat. At 30 years old, I started a year and a half relationship with a married man. That's when I started eating much more, much more. I cried and ate until I gained back all the weight I had lost the years before. I was physically and emotionally devastated. I don't know where I found the strength, but I broke off with the relationship with a married man and I started a strict diet. In only 8 months, I lost more than 35 kilos. But after this diet, I started to eat compulsively again. 2 years later, it was 1997, I went to psychotherapy for the first time because I knew I had an eating problem. I saw this professional for 7 years. I worked on myself twice a week, then I had group session, then I had couple session and several workshops on different topics. I didn't get any help with my eating problem, but I resolved many aspects of my life and got to know myself. During the group psychotherapy, I met a young man and we started relationships. We moved in together, bought a house, but it didn't work out. And I ate and ate, and it ended badly. A long period of various relationship followed, but I kept to eat and purge. My body swaying to a weight of 114 kilos. I spent whole afternoons on the couch, eating everything I could find in a kitchen, cooking delicious meals and then devouring them. I ate frozen food. I desperately searched for something to throw down while the food was on the fire cooking, and ate and drank carbonated soft drinks to get rid of the food and purge myself. I tried every kind of solution: psychotherapy, fasting, diets, purging, physical exercise, and I was sad, unhappy, angry. My friends could hardly stand me. I went from being apparently serene to rage. And then I cried, and I controlled other people's life, and I was touchy absurd, and I was vengeful. I held resentments against other people. I raged in array the 5th of April 2014. At the end of the first meeting I attended, I was so scared because it was the first time I heard the word abstinence. When I shared what happened with my current psychoanalyst, in the meantime, I changed my professional. He told me the truth about myself, and I realized that I was like a drug addict. I was shocked. In the days that followed, I found all kind of excuses not to come back to the meeting. So I stay away from away for 40 days. In those days, everything was happening to me. My life was really unmanageable. Everything was slipping out of my hands, out of my control. When I walked back into the OA meeting for the second time, it was 11th of May 2014. I was tired, angry, exhausted, hopeless. I cried a lot. It seemed that only the people in that meeting could understand me, and above all, they welcomed me. They felt my pain. They gave me love. I wondered why they gave me love when I showed them anger. I couldn't understand, but their hugs and smiles helping me dig deeper and deeper in my desperate soul. There was not only love in their eyes, but there was also light that shone, and I didn't know what it was, but it attracted me very much. But the thing that puzzled me was the serenity prayer. I came from the Catholic upbringing, and I didn't feel comfortable since with the Catholic religion since I was a teenager, and at 12 and when I was 22, 23 years old, I began to distance myself from the Catholic religion. Then just before the age of 50, I met the reality of Buddhist practice, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, which was more in tune with how I felt. But even there, I didn't feel completely satisfied. In the Serenity Prayer, there was that God that disturbed me, and almost had a difficulty accepting it. I couldn't say it, but I said the rest of the prayer. When I then spoke to the old timers, they replied that that God referred to something of our own, that it was a lay prayer, that it was who I had to find my God, my higher power. I still didn't understand, but our answer was hopeless. Having tried almost everything before joining OA, I decided to follow their advice and began to say the Serenity Prayer completely, one day at a time. After some time, a miracle happened. Every time I said it, I knew I was doing something for myself. I also said that it when I needed. But there was another change in me. Even in my eyes, a light began to shine. And although it was small, it shone after a long time. I don't know if there was ever a light in my life before joining OA. I I kept coming back and serenity pray until one day I gave up on the program. Choose a sponsor and work the steps. I read the steps, answer the question in writing, and share them with my sponsor. When I did this, I had pens of different colors to write down the insight that came from sharing with the sponsor, or if it was after a long thought. I used also post-it. I used to place just beside the thought. So if something was changed, I could keep track of my insights. Another obstacle arose immediately with the step two: identify the higher power, and above all, acting as if. But what did it mean to act as if? I had all my ideas about the concept of God, and they never worked. And even when I started the Buddhist path, I had my doubts. I find my higher power? And then, by trying, by believing that I have my own higher power, who loves me, who takes me by hand, who is close to me, who leads me, I was able to develop my idea of higher power, and it's changed over the years. But is my higher power is always with me, always, even now. Embracing the 12 steps of the program, 12-step program wasn't easy because I knew I had to face some very big things of my past. But I took it one day at a time. Try not to look to the future and just live in the present. I realized that abstinence was a fundamental part, but I didn't know how to achieve it. In August 2015, my commitment to abstinence began, and I've never relapsed. That's right, I never relapsed. From the beginning, I've tried to find the pillars on which I can lean and support myself. And I have found the most important ones in the embrace and the welcome of all the OE members with whom I'm in contact. In the past, the disease of compulsive eating led me to isolate myself and not ask for help. That's why I started asking for help, because I was afraid of being alone again. And thanks to the way of community, I realized that I could build a solid foundation, a barrier against relapse. That's why I immediately started using the tools that put me in direct contact with members: phone calls to share feelings, meetings to share the journey of recovery with the other members, sponsor and sponsee to share the progress in the program, a lot of service to always feel connected to OA. Service gives me the opportunity to stay focused on my recovery, especially when I give it daily and I share with other members. And I have fun. And I have fun. Not like in the past, because my life was very sad and I used to get angry a lot. When my emotional condition and spiritual life are strong, I don't relapse with food. That's why I'm always connected with the 2A members. I need to support my abstinence against relapse. But to get to the point where I could give a sense of support to those in relapse, I had to work on a lot of myself. At first, I had difficulties. I couldn't reach out the way I used to reaching out to a newcomer. I remember when I was at the peak of recovery, I could only see the positives and not the negative of the relapse. It was my 50th birthday, and I wanted to celebrate with all the OA friends who were close to me. I had the excluded a long-time member who was in relapse and with whom I had been close for a long time during my first month in OA. It was she who approached me and told me that we would definitely see each other on my long awaited birthday. That sentence shocked me. It woke me up from my dream, and I realized how much I still had to learn in a way. A relapse, say a long timer, a senior member, was teaching me how to take the step within with other members. I thought a lot about what happened. The next day, I called her and made my first step 4 with her. She was dating, she was a relapsed member. I invited her to my birthday party and I realized that relapsing members need a lot of support, maybe more than newcomers.
That's 20 minutes.
Thank you. This is one of the reasons I decided to serve on the Help Within Committee the first time I attended the World Service Business Conference. It was 2019, and I was a delegate from the Italian National Service Board, and I was very enthusiastic. I was thrilled, and I felt responsible because I had the trust of all Italian members. At the beginning of the committee meeting, we had to write a letter to ourselves on a blank piece of paper, telling why we wanted to be a volunteer on this committee, mentioning how we were on and what our recovery was like after joining OA. They also made us write our address on the back of the blank paper. I went home and my life went on quietly. When I had a moment of defiance, I wasn't trusting OA, and it didn't seem real to me. I was so discouraged, and I wanted to leave OA forever. I wanted to live away forever. Just then a letter arrived. I could not understand who could be writing to me. I didn't know anyone from Florida, and the handwriting was unintelligible, unwritable. Unreadable. When I opened the envelope, I realized that it was the letter I had written at World Service Business Conference 2019. And it arrived when I was leaving a very critical period for me, with the function of getting me back on the road, on the journey to recovery. The higher power has different ways of manifesting their power, their will. I came back to my thoughts, and I stayed in a way. I had to work hard on my humility and on my trust. While working on the steps with my sponsor, I had to focus on my life. During the meetings, as a member of the group, I had only a primary purpose: to carry the message to the compulsive overeater who still suffer. I may share my experience, strength, and hope, and what it works for me, and share items that highlight our common solution through diversity. If I focus on our primary purpose, I don't highlight the diversity. I can practice the unity. We can stay in unity with diversity. We are united with diversity. Every morning, I wake up and ask myself, what can I do for my recovery? First, I say the Serenity Prayer, which helps me start the day in a more centered way, balanced way. I live alone, so the silence in the morning is important. There is something magical and spiritual. All the senses are awakened, and there is no better time to connect with my higher power. I eat breakfast, which I decide the night before, and then I plan my meal plan for the day. Always a spiritual program, but it's also an a program of action. If there is something I can do to solve this thing, I make a plan of action and do my action. And then I trust everything to my higher power, as to God, as I understand Him, and write down a little piece of paper what might be bother me, and I put it in the God box. It's a gesture, but that gesture helps me to visualize the act of entrusting. So everything changes in my mind. The obsessive thought stops, and I can move on with my day. In a way, I've learned to accept and change my personal situation with my family, with my friends, with my co-workers, with myself, and I found the balance I've always been looking for. It's a kind of harmonic balance that only through the 12 steps program of OA I've been able to know and practice day by day. Having balance in my life has been the greatest gift I ever received since entering recovery, and I would not change my compulsive eating path for anything in the world. Thanks to OA, I forgave my parents. They had no other means to raise me, to upbring me, than the ones they use. Thanks to OA, I'm able to talk, to chat to my sister about my childhood, my adolescence, and I have an intimate and sensitive relationship with her. It's because of my compulsive eating disorder that I live this amazing life that I'm living. I feel that emptiness within me and the isolation are disappearing day by day. And then I find a lot of gratitude in the unity with diversity of so many members. Thank you.
Sorry, folks, trying to unmute. Thank you so much, Emilia. We will now open the question and answer section of our meeting, which will be also recorded. Please post your questions only in the chat function to me, Kara, and I will ask the question on your behalf. So I know that was an amazing share, so I know that we're going to have some great questions. Let me just open my chat function here. All right, first one. Emilia, thank you so much for your share. You spoke about the difficult relationship with your parents growing up. Can you share how OA has changed that? And did it take a long time?
Yes, it took a long time. It took a long time. I worked, I went through the step 4. I went through the step 5, the step 6, and the step 7. Then when I arrived to the step 8, I knew I had to forgive myself first for all the things I did in the past. For example, as I started to rebel, I had so many things. So I had to forgive myself, and then I had to understand that my parents' life weren't so easy when they were children, when they were young adults. They just, I don't know if I can say in English, transferred me their poor, their sad childhood on myself. And then I put together all the small pieces of the puzzle I got to know during psychotherapy and thanks to the step 8 and step 9, I could make amends to my mother and make amends to my father. I wrote a letter to him because he was already died. I hope I have some answered to the question.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for your share. I know speaking English is difficult for you, but you're such an inspiration. Thank you. What advice would you give to a member who feels like they're failing even though they're abstaining and work with a sponsor?
A member who feels like they are failing even though
Even though they abstain and work with a sponsor.
I believe they should go through their I will ask this member if something has changed during the day with the meals, and above all during their emotional and spiritual attitude. I don't know, attitude, behavior. I don't know, way of feeling. Okay, if something is changing in your attitude, there is a progress. There is a progress. Okay. For example, if you eat all the day long, something is not good. Okay. If you stopped eating all the day, something is changing and it's good. Okay. If your compulsive behavior has changed. You're not eating standing on the fridge, in front of the fridge. Something has changed. So think of what positive has changed in your recovery. Start from that point. We should not. I believe we should just focus on what has positively changed, and we can start from there. I believe this is a good thing, because if I am a compulsive eater and my bad mind, my bad brain makes me think of negative thoughts, we should start thinking what has changed. It has changed only one thing: you are not failing. This is my opinion. Abstinence should be last one day at a time, 24 hours per day. So don't focus in the past, don't focus the future, just visualize the present, the moment.
Beautiful and well said, Emilia. How do you make sure you do not do too much service?
I am a trustee liaison. I do. It's a kind of job. It's a kind of part-time job. So, but enjoy. Who invited me here knows that I'm really engaged with service, and I'm a woman of action. I cannot stand. I received the miracle of recovery, of abstinence, and I'm smiling. At this time I was, come on, it's 9 o'clock here in Italy. I have to go, no, I'm here, I'm happy. It's never too much for my recovery. It's a good gift. It's a big gift.
Beautiful, beautiful. Emilia, can you tell us a little bit about your 11-step practice?
Oh, 11-step practice. Okay. Okay, I used to pray when I stay in bed because my life is so chaotic. So when I wake up, well, as I said, I used to stay in bed. I said the Serenity Prayer. I start my day. I read Voice of Recovery, and which gives me the opportunity to think about of my progress on the program. Then every time I have a problem, I write. I thought I write that piece of paper and I put on a God box. I think it's important. And for my God box, it could be any kind of box, but I've choose. I choose. I want to show you. This is the Tree of Life. I bought when I was 18, 19 years old. And I used to have on my, I just say, it was just beside my bed, okay, on the drawer. Yes, just beside my bed. And I took it with me when I came to when I came to live here. And when I had to choose a box for my thoughts, I choose this one because this is the box I chose when I was a young girl, or it was a young lady, and I always loved this box, and it's so magic, so powerful. This is my God box, and sometimes when my thoughts are so very when they ceased, they are there. I sit, I breathe, and I wait. I sit, I breathe, and I wait. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? Oh, what advice would you give to a newcomer?
Please come to 6 meetings and check if ESOA is good for you.
Any more questions? It's beautiful answers, Emilia. Thank you. Oh, Emilia, thank you for your share. Can you please tell us how do you sponsor?
I response. I use the 12 steps, 12 tradition of OA, and I tell my sponsees that if they want to be my sponsee, they have to use all the 9 tools of recovery, including service. They have to do because all the 12 steps, step 12 is service. So they have to use, and then if they want, they can send me on daily basis their food plan. And I tell them also that I prefer they use the workbook of the 12 steps, okay, so they can reply, they answer the questions, and we can work on those questions. We share when my sponsee shares the thoughts, the answer, I can share also my life, my experience, my past, what worked for me. And when we finish with the steps, we work the traditions. I'm working. I can't wait to finish the tradition, to work on the two concepts of service. So I use any kind of literature because with another sponsee, I used to the I don't remember the name of the book, just not Beyond the Water Stream. The green one with the relapse. How do you say I don't remember the name. Okay.
That's what happens when I talk and I'm muted. Thank you, Emilia.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they can find it at oa.org, where we get all of our other books.
Yes, it's about.
Okay, let's see. More questions. We have lots. Can you share more about the work you do with the 12 Step Within community?
I gave service in the work it was 2019. I was in a World Service Business Conference, and we decided to have a survey for those around the world. It was difficult to meet because I was, I'm living in Rome. The majority was living in the United States, so to meet, so we made such kind of survey. While then I served also a committee chair for the 12 Step Within committee at the Region 9. I was the 12 Step Region 9 12 Step Within committee chair, and we gave lots of workshop on different topics. First of all, on the 12 traditions, workshop on the 12 traditions, each 2 weeks, each one tradition each 2 weeks. And then we had a workshop on relapse, sponsorship, service, many other topics. Then I had to step down because I was elected trustee.
Great. Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you for your service. Thank you so much for for sharing with us. You talked about supporting people in relapse, even more than newcomers. How would you best suggest we do that?
From my experience, just to give a hand to them, not to run away if they are in relapse. I experience that relapse can be a message of fear, can cause me fear, because I can relapse any day, anytime. So if I see a member relapse, I can face my fear, okay? And just talk to them how things are going. Just be nice to them. Hug them. Let them know that they are not alone. When I joined OA, I was alone. I was alone. Yes. Hug them, love them, call them, consider them. They're not bad people. They are just struggling with abstinence.
Thank you so much, Emilia. By the way, thank you, Charlotte. She found A New Beginning is the name of the book, and the cover's there.
Yes, a new begin. No, a new begin. Thank you,
New-
Charlotte. My dear Charlotte. She's always the answers.
You can find that on OA.org. It is OA literature. Okay. Great share, Emilia. Thank you so much. What's been the biggest blessing or change in your life since starting your recovery journey?
What's the since?
Biggest blessing or change?
I have lots of friends. Before, I never be invited by people because I wasn't a bad person, but I was vengeful. I was angry. I was angry. I used to answer very badly. I was not invited to parties and now I'm kind of leader. So this is, I'm organized, I'm singing in a choir. I have lots of friends. I laugh, I know that I can call a friend and we can spend time chatting. My life has changed. I don't have a partner with me, but I have a large family. And I'm very happy with that. And this is a big, 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 big change for me. And it's a good, 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 good change.
Beautiful, beautiful. How do you deal with cravings? What does your surrender look like? And do you get body obsessed? Thank you so much.
Oh, can you repeat? I don't remember the cravings.
Cravings, surrender, and body obsession.
I should translate it. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Which one is giving you a hard time?
Just a moment. Craving. Okay. Now I understand. Cravings, body obsession,
Surrender.
cravings, body obsession, or surrender.
Surrender. Yeah.
I don't have, I have body obsession. I'm working on body obsession because I never, I on the journey of accepting of my body. This is my big commitment. I can say now because I am on a menopause and my body's changed. And I'm so obsessed with my belly, because of the menopause. I'd never be pregnant, but now, yes, even if I'm in a menopause.
All right. Does anybody else have a question for our speaker? It's been amazing today. I think we have time for maybe one more. Such a beautiful and heartfelt answers. Thank you, Emilia. I don't see any more questions. Oh, such a beautiful share today.